Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into something really powerful, the unspoken signals that actually command respect. It's not really about what you say, it's about this ancient bioevolutionary language your body is speaking every single second. Let's dive in. So let's start with a question. Think about this. Before you even say hello, before you introduce yourself or make your point, a judgment call on you, well, it's already been made. But just how fast are we talking here?
That's it. Milliseconds. It's this unconscious, absolutely lightning fast process, and it's completely nonverbal. See, your presence walks into a room way before your voice does, and that ancient survival part of our brain, it's already made its assessment.
And what's happening in that split second? Well, it really just boils down to two primal questions based on something called the stereotype content model. First, your brain wants to know about warmth. Are you a friend or a foe? Can I trust you? And right after that, it assesses competence. Are you capable? Can you actually follow through on those intentions? Every single nonverbal cue you send out gets filtered through this ancient lens.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to break down the matrix of how these judgments get formed. Then we'll dive into 5 actionable moves, everything from your posture to your hands to how you connect, and it all leads to one thing: real, authentic credibility.
All right, first up, let's really dig into the framework behind all this. It was developed by social psychologists Susan Fiske and Amy Cuddy, and it basically reveals the 4 secret ways we categorize people, often without even thinking about it. Check this out. Those two things, warmth and competence, they create 4 totally different emotional reactions. When you're high on both warmth and competence, you get admiration. These are the leaders we respect. But look at the others. High warmth but low competence, that gets pity. High competence but low warmth, that's envy, that brilliant but kind of cold colleague. And if you're low on both, that leads to contempt. The goal, obviously, is to land right in that top left box.
And this really brings us to this central challenge, right? You could have the best intentions in the world, the sharpest skills, but is your body language betraying you? Are you accidentally sending signals that are pushing you into one of those other 3 boxes?
Okay, time for our first practical skill, mastering your physical presence. We're going to start with some pretty famous research on posture, pioneered by the social psychologist Amy Cuddy. So these are what we call expansive or high-power poses. And they're not just a human thing. They are universal signals of confidence and dominance that you see all across the animal kingdom. By literally taking up more space, you are non-verbally telling everyone that you're high status and you're not afraid. Now, we've got to be really clear on the science here. The original idea that these poses actually change your hormones, like testosterone and cortisol, that hasn't really held up in newer studies. But, and this is a really big but, the psychological effect is absolutely real. Study after study shows that holding one of these poses for just 2 minutes before something stressful, well, it genuinely makes you feel more powerful and confident. It changes your mindset, and that's what gives you the edge.
And it's not just about posing. It's also about stillness. People with high status, they move with purpose, with economy. All that fidgeting and tapping and shifting around, that just broadcasts anxiety and a lack of self-control. On the other hand, calm, minimal movement signals that you are in complete command of yourself and of the situation.
All right, let's talk about your hands. Here's a fun fact for you. There are more neural connections between your brain and your hands than any other part of your body. They are incredibly expressive, and believe me, people are subconsciously reading them all the time. I mean, just let this finding from researcher Alan Pease sink in. A 40% difference in how much people remember and agree with you, based on nothing more than which way your palm is facing. That's not some small tweak. That's a massive shift in how your message lands. So let's break that down. When you use your palms up, it's like an invitation. It's cooperative, it's not threatening, and it makes people feel included and way more open to what you're saying. Palms down, though, that's a gesture of authority. It signals a command. Now, it's perfect for a crisis when you need to give clear directions, but if you're in a negotiation, it can feel a little bit like you're giving an order. And this one goes way, way back to a deep evolutionary root. For thousands of years, showing your open palms was the universal sign for, I'm unarmed, I mean no harm. So, when you hide your hands, whether it's in your pockets or behind your back, you instinctively trigger suspicion in the other person's brain. It's like you're non-verbally closing off, and it just instantly erodes trust.
So, what do you do when you need to project that thoughtful confidence and expertise? This is your go to move. It's called the steeple. Just lightly touching your fingertips together. It's a gesture of precision and self assurance. And just like power posing, it works in two ways. You'll actually start to feel more confident when you do it, and other people will see you as more credible. Okay, our next move is all about building connection. It's about creating that invisible bridge of rapport between you and someone else. You've definitely felt this before. You're leaning in, you're totally engaged, but the other person is leaning back with their arms crossed. There's this physical and, yeah, emotional disconnect. The whole conversation just feels like a struggle because your bodies are literally out of sync. So the key to connection is synchronicity. When you subtly, and I mean subtly, mirror another person's posture, if they lean in, you lean in a bit. If they rest their chin on their hand, you might do the same. You create this powerful subconscious feeling of rapport. Now, this isn't about awkward copycatting. It's about naturally reflecting their energy to show them, hey, I'm on the same wavelength. And it makes them feel truly seen and understood. So now we've got all the pieces, the matrix, posture, our hands, and connection. So how do we put it all together to create a presence that's both powerful and authentic? Well, here's how it all maps back to those two primal judgments we talked about. If you want to build trust and connection, that's the warmth dimension, you focus on things like open palms, visible hands, and mirroring. If you want to project authority and expertise, that's the competence dimension. You use expansive posture, stillness, and that steepling gesture. And this right here, this is probably the most important formula to remember. These techniques are not about faking a personality you don't have. They are tools to make sure your external signals are perfectly lined up with your internal character and your real capabilities. Always remember this. If you try to use these moves to deceive somebody, people will sense that disconnect. But when you use them to accurately reflect your true confidence and your good intentions, that's not manipulation. That is powerful, authentic credibility. Okay, so let's make this real. Here's your challenge. I want you to consciously practice just one of these moves tomorrow. Maybe it's just keeping your hands visible during a meeting, or doing a quick 2-minute power pose before a tough phone call. Just notice how it feels. And we really want to hear from you. Which of these moves feels like the biggest hurdle? Let us know in the comments. Because, conscious practice, that's always the first step toward unconscious mastery.